today I am super excited because this next holiday coming up is my absolute favorite of the entire year. So no, it's not Christmas. Christmas is pretty sweet, but it's not Christmas. It's Halloween. Oh yeah, and I got dressed up for the occasion and everything because today we are gonna face one of our biggest fears. Well, I'll admit it's like my biggest fear. Spiders. We're gonna be building a giant web shooting animatronic spider with flickering LED eyes. So I have my template here and I say, let's get started. Halloween is just around the corner, so there's no dilly-dallying. We gotta like chop, chop, chop and get this thing done. And so I see a bunch of you guys are showing up and I did hit that stream button a little bit late. I usually have the cameras running to test everything and then all of a sudden one of them started falling asleep on me. Nothing wrong with the camera. Turns out it was the HDMI cable. Unfortunately, I only have short ones. So then I had to find little adapters and string a whole bunch of short ones together. You know, so hopefully the lag between one camera and the other is not going to be very noticeable, you know, because this is probably the most important project of the year. So of course we have most of our old gang. We have Dave Beck, Kurt Benning, and then Jell stopped by, and of course Carl James. And Carl's saying it's showtime, so he's ready. He's definitely ready. And Dave Beck is saying it's all ball bearings and HDMI cables these days. It is, you know, so you and Fletch both have the same idea, I also believe. And sometimes it's that Fitzer valve can totally go bad on you. So I'm like, the dust is settling now, you know, from me running around trying to get cables and things. And Joe is saying, oh my gosh, I remember when you got dressed up on AGG. Yes, this was my very first season on AGG. And I pitched this like zombie episode. Of course I would, right? And so the idea was to like outfit a truck. And of course we wanted to make this so it was like reversible. You know, you don't want to like permanently alter your truck this way, except if you're me, then yeah, you probably would want to. So then I threw in the idea, like, what if I get bit and then progressively through the episode, I start to turn into a zombie and say kind of whacked out stuff like a zombie would. And so then Carl James came up with a remedy. He's like, if you ever turn into a zombie in the shop, drink Break Clean. It's like Windex. It cures everything. It is the cause and solution to all of our problems. And Carl James is saying that was his favorite episode. Yes, we talk about it all the time. Anytime I end up at a car show where I see Carl and his brother, we got to talk the zombie episode. But now we're going to transition from zombies to the other Halloween item, which is spiders. You can't get any more notoriously Halloween than spiders. So let me move some of my stuff out of the way and kind of show you somewhat of a template that I made. And I started grabbing a whole bunch of things like elbows and 45-degree elbows as well as 90-degree elbows because I don't 100% know what I want. And I just heard something fall. It's a 45-degree elbow. So if I end up a 45-degree elbow short, just be like, Rachel, it's on the floor. Go get it. So let me show you my template. Man, I'm having issues. Probably all the dust kick up from running around. So let's see if this camera is better. Nah, it's not really all that better. So let's jump around a little bit. That's not too bad. So let's go with this one and let me move some things out of the way. And let me see if I can back you guys on up. That's the furthest back you guys go. Oh my gosh. So let me assist here a bit and move some of this stuff that I know we're not going to need, or, you know, famous last words. We might still need them, but I'm going to put them for now over here and get them out of the way. And let's see, we're probably still going to need this and some of this wire. We'll just kind of pile it there. So, and number one, of course, he wants a bobcat spider, a bob spider. This now, we are getting close to a bobcat spider because this thing's gonna be furry. I think we gotta add some fur to it and make it extra creepy. So basically, I took kind of this packing paper, and you can see a line here, and this is just kind of a starter line, and I was trying to figure out what should be the thorax, or the cephalothorax, as, you know, they're called in spiders, and then what is going to be the abdomen. So you can see the type of spider I drew here, and for this, I can kind of bring you guys close. And the thing with spiders is that oftentimes their bodies kind of drag closely towards the floor. So anytime you see a spider walk, they're not like up on their legs really high. They're usually like close to the floor, typically flat. And if you look at the widow spider types, usually their butts are much bigger than their thorax, but they're more bigger because they just poke up like that. But you can see that they're pretty flat. And so I'm kind of using this idea to do our template. And now to horrify all of you guys, we gonna look at some scary spiders. So look away for some of you. I'm probably not gonna sleep tonight after seeing this picture. So let's see here. And spiders, here they are. Ooh, gross. So I pulled up a couple spiders. These are actually two different kind of spiders. The one on the left is your Mexican tarantula. I've seen it called Mexican red knee or Mexican flame knee tarantula. And the reason I liked it is because it has the classic black and orange Halloween colors. And then the one on the right is pretty creepy. That is your black widow spider, or one of the widow spiders. So I'm kind of thinking maybe we can do a mix of these two spiders, because I like the hairiness of the tarantula. And if you look at the anatomy of the tarantula, the cephalothorax, it looks like it has only 2 eyes, but it probably has more eyes than that. They're just like really tiny. It's about the same size as the abdomen. It's maybe a little bit smaller, and it's roughly square in shape, or maybe a very light hexagon type of shape. So that's going to kind of help determine what our frame is going to be. Whereas the spider on the right, you can see that from the head-on view, the cephalothorax and the butt are slightly different. Like the butt is way wider than its thorax, and the thorax is smaller significantly. It's almost half the size of this butt. This abdomen. So Gel is already freaking out. He's just like, red cheek emoji. So at least I know I am not going to be alone in my lack of sleeping. I got a buddy with me that I can think like, okay, I know Gel is up thinking of this creepishness. So now is the time to chime in the beginning of this project if you guys prefer to see more of a widow spider or the tarantula. I'm thinking of kind of mashing both up, in that using mostly the widow spider body, because you have that small thorax. It's also got its eyes piled higher, like higher in this little mountain. It's really, really creepy. Whereas the tarantula has these 2 little eyes, less creepy. But I like the furriness of the tarantula. So because we are going to be putting in red flickering LEDs, I'm leaning towards the color scheme now of the black widow spider, because I do like the red on its butt, and we can add some red along its legs, kind of make our own black, widow spider. We don't need to exactly copy that spider. But the other thing I like about the widow spider, and this is like extra creepy, is if you look at the legs of the tarantula, they're furry all the way through. They have what appears to be more segments. Like I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 segments on its legs, whereas the widow spider seems to have 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 if you count the little toes. And because it's got less segments, something about that very first segment that comes off the body being very long is super creepy. And its little toes, I guess you would call it, they have a singular toe per leg, comes into a point. And that always reminds me of the movie Starship Troopers. And it's an old movie. I don't know if some of you have seen it, but it's basically, just kind of high level here, so I don't spoil it for you. But it's alien bugs, and basically, you're fighting alien bugs. It's more comedic than anything, but these bugs just basically impale you with their feet, knives and stuff. It's regular insect stuff, but it's so sharp that no armor can resist being pierced. So that's kind of what the widow spider reminds me of. So if there's some way to kind of start the leg off very tarantula-like with that long segment, hairy, and then it gets less hairy towards the tip, and then it can have that like hook foot, which is really scary, because not only are we going to have it web shoot, it's going to be kind of piercy. So chime in your suggestions and what you think the spider should look like. It doesn't super matter now. We just have to get the dimensions right for whatever look we're going for. And Jill is saying, Dave Beck is saying Monster Mash. Yes, both. Okay, so we're going to do both. Most Halloween spiders are like the Black Widow. That is true, what Jill is saying. I do a fuzzy cross between a Black Widow and a tarantula. Okay, so see, people are kind of liking this mashup. And Carl James is saying Starship Troopers is always a fun movie. Yeah, every time it's on, I watch it. It's got Casper Van Dien, and once he did that movie, he did a couple other movies, but that's the movie I remember him for. Whether he likes that or not, it was a really fun movie. So anyways, looking at our template, and I'm going to try and maybe use this view right here to show you guys, and I'm going to draw it with some black magic marker so you can see it. Basically, I'm trying to make this tarantula Black Widow 4 feet long. So 4 feet is from this black line right here all the way to about here. This table is 5 feet in length. And the reason for that is that I want this spider to be giant, but I also am thinking of like, okay, once Halloween is over, what am I going to do with it? It's going to be too big to put away. So I'm going to build a frame out of PVC pipe, and I have 3/4 inch PVC pipe waiting for us to cut up with these 3/4 inch different joints and couplings for us to, figure out. So let me see if I can bump you guys over here and pull this back so you guys see somewhat what I got going on, and I'll pull it here. So if you can see, I got this line here and then this line over here. And you can see that I've already drawn somewhat of a hexagonal shape that we're going to use. So right here. And I'm pointing to the wrong thing right here. So this is about 10 inches here. This is about 5.5 inches here. And then this portion right here, which I'll pull out for you guys, is 6 inches. So I think that's a pretty good size. All in all, it's thorax like this. It's like, I don't have a good view. This spider is so giant, I need to put on my widest angle lens that I have. But basically, from head to where it meets the abdomen is 1.5 feet. So that gives us 2.5 feet for the rest of its abdomen. And remember, the thorax area is, I would say, roughly half of what the abdomen is. So we're pretty close, and the abdomen doesn't have to be that huge because the hugeness really comes from the height, more than anything. So I figure let's start building this out of PVC and start getting some ideas for what we want to do. And I know I did kind of knock some stuff over, but we'll go without. So Jill is saying after Halloween, it can meet its demise in a non-fire. It could. So one of the things that I want to do is make the thorax area separable from the abdomen so I can rip it apart and then be able to store it. And as for the legs, at first I was going to make the legs out of PVC. And of course, not 3/4 inches because it starts to bow and bend. I was going to maybe go with 1 inch, at least PVC pipe. And so I saw a couple examples online, and the only problem with PVC pipe is that once you put the spider down, and because you're pretty much married to 90 and 45 degree angles, there's not much differences in the legs. It looks too similar and fake. And the legs, you can't pose them, you can't move them. And if you cement everything together, well, now you can't take this giant thing apart, so it's a whole put it together, take it apart. So what I'm thinking is that what if the legs don't have to support the body? We could prop up the body by creating some spikes to spike it to the ground, make the legs out of bendable wire so that way you can position that spider any way you want. And I'm like, yeah, that is sounding pretty cool. And also this spider is going to be shooting out a web shooter, and we're going to figure that out in about 2 or 3 streams, an apparatus that is motion detected. So when kids walk by, the thing will shoot some silly string at them. And I want the silly string to be aimed around their knees. You know, I don't want to hit anybody in the face or get their masks or anything like that and just kind of like confuse them. Although that's what a spider would love to do, is like confuse you and then eat you. So for the spider to be propped up on its legs, it's going to sit too high and it's going to be hitting like adults in the chest. So we want this thing to be crouched low. And in the future, I would like to add some kind of like jumping action, maybe with an actuator or pneumatic, piston. This thing not only will web shoot you, but then jump at you. And if I make the legs all out of PVC, the thing is just going to jump without moving. And it's kind of lame. It's like the very old-fashioned haunted houses that we all used to go to down by the beach on the boardwalk. They always have one. So I'm thinking if I make the legs out of wire, stiff enough wire, when it jumps, the wires will wiggle just enough to kind of make this thing look a little bit more realistic. Now the jumping portion we probably won't get to for this Halloween, but these projects always make cameos in future streams. So for next Halloween, we'll do another project and then cameo this one with a bit more features. But we got to build, people. I get to chatting with you and look what happened. We don't build enough. So let's start to lay this out. And for this, I think I will kind of shoot you guys over here. And this is the butt area. And so what I'm thinking, in order to make this, detachable, and let me just make the lines that we are going to be using in this black. And Gel's already got an idea. He said you could support the body with RC wheels. Yep. I mean, the body can go on the floor, but it'd be nice to be able to prop it up so it's kind of propped up to shoot that web shooter stuff. And we're going to have to figure, out how that's going to work. And with a motion detector, so that's going to be all a stream of its own. But I'm thinking of building a hexagon like this, and I will give you guys a much better view here in a second. And probably swap this out for the next stream with my wide angle lens. Oh, that's not, it had a little juice. It had a little juice to swap out. And so you can see the hexagon. Now, we kind of have to remember that we're kind of stuck with the 45s and the 90s. And so I made every angle here for this hexagon a 45. And that should be good enough to get kind of a hexagon thorax type of situation going on. And let me just kind of jump myself over here to make your lives easier. And I got one more line to draw right there. And this is about like 45. And of course, by the time we put these little elbows in like that, our dimensions will change a little bit because each elbow does have a bit of a spacer. So it's going to make whatever this template is slightly bigger. Now, that's okay because, we're not going with specific measurements here. And now because we are using 3/4 inch PVC, I think I want to put some kind of support here. And check out this idea, guys. So Gel is saying RC wheels. And that would be so hilarious because can you imagine this thing taking off on you? So rather than a jumping motion out at you, maybe this thing kind of takes off after you or something, spitting little web shooter stuff, So we could account for some RC wheels. So we have these laid out here. And of course, we're going to need a T here and a T here for our piping, and of course we're going to need some elbows. But interestingly, guys, one of the things we can do is there another T? I know I got another T somewhere, but here it is. What we can do is put a T here and a T here, but they're going to be like this, right? So these ends are going to be facing down, allowing us to put a piece of PVC and in essence creating little stakes that will push it a little bit up off the ground, and we can paint these tubes that we put in here black, you know, so you can't really see it. So that's an idea, but I am digging Gel's like idea. We may not be able to get it done for this time around, but for instead of the jumping action, the spider chasing you action, that would freak me out. Oh my gosh, I would have to just commit myself to some kind of asylum. I'd be like, put me in Arkham Asylum with the Joker because I'm about to go that direction. So if we do that, one of the things we can do is almost make like a U-bar and be able to attach our wheels to this U-bar on the bottom of the frame. So I'm kind of liking putting some T's here, which means I'm short on T's. So what we're gonna do for today is create this bar. I'll go and get 2 more T's because I need these T's for something else, which is on the particular end. So let's go to the butt over here. And I'm going to move this stuff out of the way, and you can see kind of like I don't have anything drawn because the idea here, and it's okay for our little, you know, our little things get all messed up. We kind of know where everything goes. If you see this line right here, that's our official 4-foot line. So what I'm thinking of doing is basically putting a T here and a T here. These are all going to pretty much have to interconnect like that. You know, so we're going to be cutting a bunch of little stubby pieces to fit here. And then we're going to put 2, just 2 PVC pipes, because all we need is a bottom support for the butt. The butt's going to be super light, you know, and it's going to be anchored to this. And the advantage is it's going to allow me to pull the butt off when it comes time to store the thing. And then we'll use 90 degrees here like this and a pipe. So basically, we're going to create a rectangle here where the butt is going to have something to rest on. And we can even use zip ties. I can put a piece of 1/4 inch, you know, like a 1/4 inch plate where the rest of our stuff can sit on. So that's kind of the initial idea for our frame, you know, and then we'll figure out the legs later, probably drilling some holes into our PVC and winding wire out, and then using some portions of the leg for that. And I also have, you'll notice, pool noodles, and our 3/4 inch PVC pipe ready to get cut. So let's get cutting. And ironically, these pool noodles have a hole in it. And so I tried a 1/2 inch pipe in the hole and it was too loose. So the 3/4 inch pipe fits in real snug. So that's going to allow us for the leg segments to slip this on so we can sculpt it into spider legs. It can have ridges and all kinds of grossness, you know? So I think that'll be a lot of fun, and I have a whole bunch. I went to the dollar store and they were already out of pool noodles. So why can't I say noodle? Noodles, not noodles or whatever it is that I'm saying. And so they were out. I was like, oh, darn. But luckily Lowe's had them for $2.25. So I had to pay a whole $1.25 more per pool noodle. The disaster, people, the disaster. But I'll survive. So let's get cutting this part right here first, because this is the most complicated part of all, I think, which is this guy here. We're going to have to get all, look how tight we're going to have to get these. And so I measured these because you can see that there's like a ridge where it's going to bottom out at. So I measured, and that is 0.75. So it's 3/4 of an inch. So theoretically, if I cut a piece of PVC 1.5 inches, it should sit flush where the thing should just go like that and not have any spacing. So let's try that theory and see what happens here. And let's measure out 3/4 of an inch on this. And hopefully my theory will be correct. I'll just hold it up like that. And there's our 3/4 of an inch. And for this, I'm going to use this nifty little pipe cutter. You can certainly use a hacksaw. You guys have seen me do that plenty of time here. So let's see here and get to cutting this. So I'm just going to try and align the blade up with, our line here and start clamping down. All right. And we're gonna try and get it close. If there's like 2 millimeters showing, I mean, come on, we're good. We're good. So all I'm doing is just tightening this pretty tight, and all it's gonna do is start cutting around. And I'll give you guys a closer look. So all I'm gonna do is start twisting this thing around, and that might be a little too tight. And it's gonna start cutting. And once you've made one rotation, it gets super easy. So that's kind of your signal to clamp it down a little bit more and then continue turning it. And that'll give us like some nice, clean, non-crooked, typical Rachel cuts. You know, my cuts are always all super, super crooked. So let's see if something like this works. If I stick, oh, I measured wrong, didn't I? I cut point, you know, I cut to 3/4 versus doubling it. It's supposed to be 1.5 inches. Go me. See, I get to talking to you guys. And I was like, we got to cut 1.5 inches. And what do? Cut half of that. That doesn't make any sense. So that was a practice round. People. So let's do the real round. And before I cut it, actually, this mistake is my opportunity to see if this thing really works. Oh my gosh, guys, check this out. I think we're gonna be good. Look, it's in here and pretty darn flush. So it is, and it's bottomed out. So it is indeed 3/4 inch. Hopefully these are somewhat all the same brand. So, you know, it's gonna fit like it's supposed to. And all I'm doing is doing our cutting once more. The jumping effect, I think, would be super cool, but I am really eyeing up that RC effect because I could just buy some bigger wheels. I was thinking about robbing the wheels from the condiment cart that we made, but I think those wheels are going to be too small. It's not going to be able to go over like grassy terrain or anything like that. So Jell is like laughing. He's like, yep, he knows me. He knows I am cutting this thing wrong. So just had to get this a little bit tighter so it stops trying to jump. Or mayhaps I cut all the way through on one side. All right, there we go. Was a little too aggressive. So that is done. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten it a little bit more. And then turn the pipe. This makes way less mess. So this is our 1.5 inch piece. So theoretically, this is gonna go like that, and we're gonna stick this guy in here. Now I'm not gonna cement anything just yet. Let's just make sure this whole thing works before I decide to cement it. And then this guy goes here, right? Guys, gotta be my eyeballs because clearly I'm already messing this up from the get-go. So like I said, oh look, a little maybe 2 millimeter type of gap, I'm okay with that. So I'm ready to move on, and then let's see if we can do this one like this, same way. So another 1.5 inch piece right there. Let's get rocking. 1.5, not 3/4, 3/4. So get that measured up. And if this template works out, then I'll write down the measurement for you guys. And let me just hold on. All right, I don't trust myself anymore talking to you guys. All right, let's do this again, and hopefully not do this way too tight, you know, this time. And Jell is saying that I can buy a cheap RC truck and take the body off the frame and attach the frame under the spider. Ooh, that's pretty good, because I would probably like stand at the window and just kind of chase people with it just for the fun. And of course, if it's like a really little kid, I would probably either put a sign or just be outside and kind of warn them. But the teenagers, it is fair game. It is fair game. So I'm going for them. Guys, that would freak me out. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to remember the last Halloween thing, even as a kid, that I saw that just really freaked me out. And thankfully, I can't remember any. So that means I'm not that scarred. I'm not that scarred, which is good. So let's see here. I'm going to bottom this out real well. Ooh, that's an even better fit. Ooh, getting better. All right. So I'm going to do the same thing now over here. And we got our bottom piece. Guys, we are rocking. We are rocking because we got to make Halloween. I don't want to put this thing out post-Halloween. That's kind of lame. And listen, it's happened. Sometimes I've started Halloween projects where I'm like, oh, I'm so excited and I really want to do this. And then, work stuff happens and then you just don't get around to it. And your Halloween project is sitting there like, please, Halloween's coming. And then I feel like so lame when I don't get it done on time. And then I'm like, well, maybe next year, Although I do have a very cool Halloween project, if you guys haven't checked it out. It is in 360 though, but you can watch it on YouTube. You can take your finger or your mouse and scroll around and see my whole shop. And it just kind of goes through the process of making a zombie head drinking fountain. Now this fountain can have any liquid you want. It can have soft drinks. It can have water. It can have adult beverages. And it's got a pool of eyeballs that the water drips out of, or, liquid. Or it's kind of like a never-ending. It's like a never-ending fountain. And the fountain part comes out of its maggoty eye. So it's got like a whole how-to and the whole process for creating that. So that was the last Halloween project I did. And then before that, it was a flaming pumpkin, flaming in all different kinds of colors. And Dave Beck is saying maybe make 2 of the 1.5 tubes and use 1 for a template. Oh yes, so that way I can just templatize and mark rather than doing this type of business, the whole time. I can just use that one template and mark it down. So, way to go, Dave, with the speeding up of stuff. That's awesome. That's a cool productivity tip. And Merlin is here. Merlin Maggi, create a PVC seesaw. Raise and lower it with a cord or rope attached. Ooh, yes. I mean, for this year, we could definitely do that. The RC thing is awesome. I mean, I would love to try and fit that in. Maybe. If we get ahead of schedule, we might be able to do that. But not Merlin's idea is awesome. And Jella saying, really, I have VR. Where can I find the link? On my YouTube. I'm also on Oculus, the Oculus video library as well. So you can always catch me there. And I used to do a ton of VR videos, live streams and things like that. I don't know which ones are still up. And then for live streaming, it's a bit difficult for somebody to sit with a pair of glasses on for like 2 hours. So I found that people would start, but they had difficulty kind of maintaining and keeping up with the stream. So I went into flatto vision after that. But I love VR. I create VR videos all the time. It kind of seems like you guys are in the shop. Also 180 VR, so it's 3D as well. So there's a video up there too where I created this whole thing over here. So you'll see the whole creation process all done in VR. But enough about VR. We got stuff to do. I'm going to create this template just like Dave said. And actually, we might not have to anymore. That was it that we needed for the 1.5 inches. So I kind of got ahead of him. But I'm going to slide this over and let's look at the rest of this template now. Now we have to try and bridge this. And I have really no idea. See, I wrote 5.5. So let's just try 5.5. Because again, I am not super concerned of this being holy moly accurate, so we're okay with that. So I'm going to go ahead and measure 5.5 on our tube here. And use kind of the skinny end of this. So, like if I needed to fit this in a very specific area with really crazy, Loctite dimensions, then I'd be more concerned. But the big thing is to have something that's big, but not too big where storing it becomes an issue. So it's more about like big for the wow factor and then we can put it away once it's done and use it for next year and continue to kind of build on it while we build other things. And this is awesome because it cuts such a straight line. Usually all my PVC cuts are a little bit crooked, you know, especially since I'm cutting fast. All right, so let's put this back here. And guys, it kind of does follow a little bit. See, we're a little bit like the line is here. So instead of being here, it's just a little bit, you know, we're off by 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to call that okay, you know, by my book. You know, I don't think there's any need to shorten this to be able to bring this back up here, because we're going to, as long as I stick with all the measurements, it's all going to be off by the same amount. So I'm thinking that's okay. And so one of the things now I'm going to do is do this 10-inch one. And of course, you know, if we can somehow do this in a way where you guys can see, that'd be awesome, right? So for this 10-inch one right here, I'm going to go ahead and cut a 10-inch full one. And then later on my own, I'll cut it in half, minus 1.5 inches, and put our T like that. Actually, I'm going to do that now because I'm going to go, you know, to the store later and grab this. So all I have to do when I take this apart is cut this section right here and put 2 T's on it. But for now, we'll leave it as a whole, you know, stick for now. So next one is like this. So if this is 10 inches, we got to cut 5 and 5, but accounting for the fact that, let's see, you know what, we can do 5 and 5 because yeah, there's a spacer here, so it's going to make our thorax a tiny bit smaller. So maybe we can do like, and I can't even really measure down there to know what it is. So perhaps we can do maybe 4. That's got to be at least an inch. I'm feeling it, but let's see if I can show you guys. But see, it starts there, and if you take a look, it goes kind of all the way through. So if that's 3/4 inches, then yeah, this is at least 3/4 inches. So maybe we should knock off about an inch. Let's see here. Oh yes, Merlin is saying 5.5 inches, but cut 0.5. So yeah, we can, let's do that. Let's cut 5.5 because I can always cut it shorter versus not being able to elongate it. So let's try it at 5 and see what happens. It might not look so bad. I'm thinking we're probably going to have to knock it back to 4.5 inches. And here it is. And once we get this kind of done, then for next week, we are actually going to be doing the foam sculpting on this thing. Now, I think the thorax part would look great in foam because we can put in a lot of details and stuff. Now, the butt area, I'd like to kind of make that light. So that can either be foam, or if you really think about it, guys. Oh, and Merlin is saying put the pencil. Yes. I tried that earlier, but I couldn't tell if like the tip of the pencil was actually, you know, where it was supposed to be. Actually, I did it with this wire here, hence why it's extended. And that's how I found that the areas in the coupling were 0.75 or 3/4 inches. 3/4 inch, yeah. But we can try again with this and see what it is. So what he is saying, in order for me to figure out what the bottom out was, I just went like that. And then I measured from here to here, and that's 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to use my finger, and you guys are not really going to be able to see this, but I'm putting my finger where that bottom out area is. And then likewise, kind of my finger here. And it's about this much. So that's like an inch, guys. an inch. So most likely we're going to have to remove an inch from this thing and do 4 and 4. But let's confirm. Yeah, because look, that's already gone past our center mark by quite a bit. So this kind of goes like that. Yeah, we're probably going to have to remove a little bit. But at the same time, is it really all that off? Not, I mean, almost barely, you know. But we can remove a little bit here. And so I cut this at 5. So let's cut it at... When I put it like that, it doesn't really look like it was an inch off. So I'm going to chicken out and remove half an inch. I'm going to and just remove half an inch. And I will make that sound effect because I am chickening out. And so now we'll just have to remember what I removed total. So instead of 5, if this works, it'll be 4.5 that I have to cut the other one. Right. Get him kind of lined up all nice. Yeah, so that's looking a lot better. And I think if I take another half an inch, I think we'll pretty much be perfect there. Because I'm holding this towards the line here. And it's going to be, even this probably needs to be half an inch smaller to be able to fit like our template, you know, perfectly. But we can do a quick half an inch off of this guy. And then I think we're getting a pretty good fit. So yes, that's the only difference. It's those little spacers inside these joints. That's our half right there. Being too conservative with the tube cutter. So how about you guys? Anybody making any type of DIY Halloween craziness? And more importantly, have you started? Oh my gosh, have you started? Because I usually start these things way too late, and that's the problem. And that's why this time I'm like, you know what? It's September. It's still September. So I feel like I can still, you know, get things done. I'll have a better chance of getting it done on time. We're just waiting till the last minute. And of course, Dave is handing out the chicken drumsticks. Ooh, guys, that's like almost perfect. So whatever I did is pretty good. And this is, I'm going to call this close enough, you know, it's pretty good. So I think we're good there. And so we're just going to repeat this guy here for over here. And before we get too far, I might as well build out. Let me move this kind of this way. I might as well build out this leg as well. So we're kind of matching what we're doing. And so for this, how long was this guy? And I'm going to use the Dave technique where you just kind of hold it like this and use it as a template rather than keep measuring. There we go. Over and over again. And let's cut this guy. So this is going to be pretty much a flat type of frame, but all the, you know, spiders are pretty flat on the bottom, and we're not going to really see anything on the bottom. So I don't want to spend a ton of like, you know, PVC, you know, decor. Although we're not going to, you know, the PVC isn't really going to be decorating anything. It's more for structure and later so we can kind of animate it, and the structure can kind of be animated as one with wobbly legs, which is nice. So I'm kind of glad I decided against the PVC. I had the cart all loaded up with PVC legs, and I was thinking, man, you know? It'd be kind of nice to have a little more movement in this thing, not have it look so rigid and fake. Angela's saying, I'm moving the day before Halloween. I'll be too busy this year. Oh, no. But moving is pretty exciting. So hopefully it's got an awesome yard where you can do a mega Halloween next year. I fully expect it. We'll be building another Halloween project. Hopefully something non-spider related, although this one may make an appearance, you know, nice little appearance for some upgrades. And look at that. All right, guys, not bad. And then we'll do the same here for this. And we are rocking through this cephalothorax of our spider. And of course, all the scary movies. I end up like handing out the candy, but watching me my Jason, watching me my Michael Myers, and they will totally marathon that, and I will watch all of them. All of them. Halloween is the one where I'm like, okay, get all my work done, so that way I can do all the scary monster movies that I want. And of course, I'm going to have to watch Young Frankenstein, because that's a great Halloween movie. It's not, you know, scary or anything, but gotta get you some Mel Brooks for Halloween. Or for basically any holiday, right? And then, of course, I reserve my Die Hard for Christmas, because that is a Christmas movie. I don't care what anyone says. It's a Christmas movie. All right, tightening this more, and let's get this cut. There we go. And all right, so this one goes here, and this one goes here. All right, so following our template, it's mostly there, you know, a couple differences, but we'll live with it. And then this guy here, which means we are going to have to kind of figure out this middle portion a little bit, but we can move on and at least get our trapezoid done. And so I'm just going to double up whatever this was and cut 2 more pieces of this right here for this and this. So I'm thinking that's okay. And so far, this is 1 piece of 5-foot PVC, and that's all we've used. Angela's saying, hey, you could hang it from a fishing line above your porch. I totally could, and then that thing would just be like web shooting and things like that. If I aim it down, I can probably get away with it. And use kind of like a puppeteering thing where I just, you know, pull on the string up and down. Another cool thing that I thought would be neat to do is add sound effects, like little spiderling, creepy sound effects right before it shoots the, you know, the web. So the idea is to get a can of silly string and somehow build something, maybe with a servo, that pulls the nozzle and sprays out the silly string. So that's kind of what we're thinking of doing. I know Larry was on the stream last time. And he suggested buying like the Spider-Man child's toy where you just go and, you know, it's a lever that you pull and the silly string comes out. So we can simply just buy something where we make some kind of servo actuated something that pulls that lever, or we can try and come up with our own contraption where you can pretty much use any can of silly string. The only thing with using toys is that sometimes they have specialized cartridges. And if for whatever reason, this toy goes out of business, or the toy goes out of business, the company just stops producing the toys, what I mean to say, now you're stuck with something that requires a very specific cartridge. So, oh, Larry is back. Awesome. And, Dave Beck is saying, don't forget Beetlejuice. Oh, yes, that's my whole shirt here is I'm rocking the Beetlejuice, here. So, yes, I can't forget Beetlejuice. And I heard that they're coming out with another Beetlejuice, and that, yes, Michael Keaton will be in it. So I'm wondering, like, in what capacity he's going to be in it. Is he going to be Beetlejuice, or is he going to do more like a cameo thing? I don't know. I haven't read much about it, but I'm super excited. and Fletch is coming out with John Hamm. But they're not really going to copy like the Chevy Chase. I heard that it's going to be a little bit darker and it's going to be different, you know, which might be a good thing, because I think when you try and revive kind of the spirit of the movie, there's a lot to be said for the topics they covered and how they covered it, you know, back then, which might not, you know, resonate as much today. So maybe a fresh look might be a lot of fun. But don't screw it up. Don't screw it up. I love my my Fletch. So there's got to be some kind of Fitzer valve in there that makes some kind of appearance, you know. So we're kind of doing it, you know. And I think once it's cemented together, it won't be so flimsy, you know. But for now, we're just prototyping about, and it's looking pretty good. And Larry Gallant is like, awesome, yes. So now we're just going to do this same curve here. So I'm going to pull this apart and just copy and paste. We're just going to cut 2 more of these. And Dave's idea was pretty good. Just like quit measuring so much, which is, you know, I never do that anyways. I don't know what came over me, but Dave has set me straight. Stop measuring so much. Just kind of eyeball it. But this is pretty accurate as well. So. And how much did I say I need? I need this piece I'm cutting, and I need 1 more piece, right? That is what I said. It's always like tough getting it started. Once you get it started, just to kind of get it on the line. There we go. Once you get it clamped down good, it's good. Give that a turn, and once it becomes easy, give it another one. There we go. I'm going to use this. Actually, I'm going to keep using the original in case, you know, you always get a little bit of differences, and then your differences start getting bigger and bigger, you know. So I'll go back to the original. Right here. So the web shooter part I'm kind of excited about, because I'm not going to lie, I kind of don't know how I'm going to tackle that quite yet, which is kind of how all these projects go anyways. And somehow we figure it out. And a lot of times you guys figure it out. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. So if you haven't yet, hop on Discord. You can post pictures of your projects. You can chime in suggestions, because I know sometimes you don't think of it quite here. And then later on, you're like, oh man, it would be cool if we add this or do that. So Discord is the place where you can comment and meet other people. A lot of the people from this stream will end up on Discord, like Dave, Larry, Jel, Ernesto has been on there. Speaking of Ernesto, I haven't seen him on the stream for today. I know that maybe spiders creeped some people out. I know that I would be like, a live stream about spiders? I'm out of here. I'm out of here. No way. So I got this and I got these. So I think we're good there. I'm gonna move this here. All right. And oh, I need a 45. So yes, with PVC, we are a little bit limited in shapes, and got, 45 and 90s. That's pretty much it. And now for this, we have to kind of figure this out. And I had said that this was 6 inches, and we found that we had to cut how much off? Either half an inch. We had to cut a whole inch off here, but let's start with half an inch. So that would be 5.5. Math. Am I not mathing? What's happening? So to kind of give an idea, we can also just slip these guys on and do the unthinkable. I know, people, I'm measuring. So it's about 4 inches from here. And then if you add an 1.5 inches, that would be 5.5 inches. So theoretically, if I cut one for 5.5 inches, that should work. And this is what remains of our 1 piece of PVC so far. And I think we can make the thorax from the other piece. And legs, I'm going to use a couple pieces of PVC. So what did I say? I got to talking and I forgot. Oh yes, 5.5. Always happen. Don't forget the 45 on the floor. Oh yes, Dave's reminding me. I have an extra 45. And I know I bought extra, so I may not end up using it, but it's good to know so I don't trip over it like a Lego. It's always what happens. stepping on like scrap wood and scrap PVC, like Legos. So far I'm kind of liking your guys' idea. The RC car, the seesaw by Merlin, which is a great kind of simple, practical effect that you can do really quickly, which might be the way we go this year, and then add the RC functionality next year, because just the creep factor of that is hilarious. Oh my gosh. Oh, I went too tight. Too tight. It cut all the way through. And then once it cuts all the way through, if you try and rotate it, it'll skip. So, just until you feel a tiny bit of resistance. I was He-Manning it. And Netflix has the new He-Man cartoon, so I've been watching that. It's fun. Kind of like old times. I used to have Castle Grayskull, all of that. He-Man himself. So this is our 5.5-inch piece. And that's pretty good. It's a little maybe short, because you can see that this portion right here, you can see it's going in like this a little bit. But I am not too sad about that, because I'll tell you why. If we, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to do this, but I'm gonna have to show you the spiders again. Avert your eyes. But if you look at that Black Widow spider, the portion of the head that's forward, you know, with all the eyes, is thinner, and then the thorax kind of like opens up and then goes to the back. It gets wider, but I like the cinched in waist, and that's why I made the hexagonal shape. And so I think I kind of like the fact that we do have a little bit of a taper here, you know, going like that. And what we're going to do is do just like that nasty, nasty spider. We're going to take this, and I'm going to take a piece of foam and sculpt up like a mound, where we're going to put all of its nasty little eyes and put flickering LEDs. And I'm thinking I can use Christmas ornaments, the clear kind that are DIY and you make your own. And we can paint some effects inside the eyes, but not paint the eye opaque, because then you won't be able to see the red LEDs. So do something similar to what we did with Fartatukus, our fart detector, and do some translucent style painting where you can still see red, green, and yellow LEDs. Although in this case, we're just going to be using the red flickering, which in retrospect is gonna kind of match the whole Black Widow type of spider colorings. You know, it's all gonna be red. So we're just gonna make it a little more hairy. So our thorax is done, and I'm just gonna use kind of this mock piece right here. And, you know, for now, it's the wrong size, but it'll kind of do its thing. Or is it? Or is it? I think it's good, people. I think it's good. So the only thing that I'm going to do on my own is get 2 more T's like this and put them so the T part is facing down. That allows me to attach poles like that, and then we can stake it into the ground. Obviously, this pole is like way too long. So the butt end is easy to tell because it's this end with the 2 T's going out. And so now we're going to build the thorax. And this is the toughest part because I can't decide how long to make this thing. So let me see if I can pull this all the way this way so you guys can see. Let me put this wire aside. We might be using it. All right, with my spider making tools. Oh yeah. Okay. So for this, you don't really have to use Schedule 40. Schedule 40 I reserve for air cannons and anything we're going to pressurize. So this is just like the regular kind, so it's even cheaper, which is nice. So I'm just going to do this and see what can you guys see. What can you see? And yep, you're already pulled out to the max. And so you see this line here. This is where, theoretically, if we want to make this thing 4 feet, where the butt will stop. But you can also see this line right here where this guy does this. So I'm wondering if there's a view where you guys can see kind of the whole thing. Maybe this view. If I go like this, and then I go like this, so you can see the thorax. And then this is where we're going to have to end the abdomen. So we can do it like this and then shorten it if we find that it's too long. Because basically, let's take one more look at that picture. You can see that if you look at the thorax and the butt, the thorax is smaller than the butt, but not, I wouldn't say it's half as small as the butt. I would say it's 3/4 the size of the butt. So if we have our project here, and this is 1.5 feet, approximately. Yeah, it's like 1.5 feet. So if we were to go like 2 feet on it, you know, that would be kind of like here and here. You know what? That's kind of right. Yeah, that's kind of right. So 2 feet would be right here. So we're almost there. Or 2 feet and you know, 1/4, something like that. So the new line would be here. That might be too short. All right, so I think I'm gonna stick with my original line, and if it starts looking too long, it's easy enough to cut it here, stick it back in, and shorten it up. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. So let's take a measure of this T area all the way up here, and then see how it is. So I'm just gonna move this guy out of the way and bust out a much bigger tape measurer. So Dave Beck saying, it looks right for a spider though. So I'm wondering, do you mean it looks right for a spider at the 4 foot mark or the new line I drew? I think you meant at the 4 foot line. That's what I'm understanding. So correct me if I'm wrong before I start cutting. You know, you got T minus, you know, 1 second. No, I'm kidding. It's going to take me much longer to figure this out and cut it. So I have about 30 inches, and we have 75 or 0.75, you know, 3/4 inch bottom out here. So I can cut it at 30. It's actually 29. Yeah, so let's cut it at 29. It's between 29 and 30. So we'll go an even 30 on the next piece of PVC. Right here, and see how that looks. And then we'll join them with 2 90-degree angles at the top there. So we're gonna have to figure out this distance right here. And I'm looking at the wrong audience. There you guys are. So once we cut them, yeah, we'll just have to figure out this distance where they connect at the top. But that's for later. Later in the stream. We'll get this done for now here. Oh, and I need to do 30. Angela saying it's going to be huge. I think so too. Like when I was drawing it out on this piece of paper, I was like, it's not that huge. Like, it's not that huge. But now that I'm building it, I'm like, it's a little huge. It is a little huge. But as long as I can take it apart, and because the legs are going to be wire, I can bend the legs into it. So that way it compacts a little bit more. But I've been toying around with another idea, guys, which is adding some animation to the shop. So that way, every time somebody subscribes or follows or something, some kind of animation happens here. So I was actually kind of thinking of hanging the spider kind of like this or something after Halloween, and every time somebody subscribes or something like that, maybe it shoots me with silly string. And I can't believe I just said that out loud, because now you guys are going to want it, and that means I'm going to be covered in silly string like all the time. So I thought it would be fun to do a project like that where you guys animate the project, you know, by doing different things. I don't know, we'll figure out what the actions are. You know, maybe I got to do the hokey pokey and turn myself around. But I thought doing some animatronics or a light that spins and goes off like a siren might be kind of fun, you know? So Dave Beck is confirming that the 4 foot line is good. Like you said, you can cut it shorter. Yep, we're just going to go with that theory. And then the front of the spider being smaller than the back on the thorax. Yes. So So Dave was kind of noticing the same thing. And all I'm doing is just cut my 30. But yeah, I thought that would be kind of fun. Or I could do like a pie thrower or something. But shh, I take that back. No, stop the stream. Is there any way to like back up and erase that part? Because then you guys are going to want it. But I figure we'll start with the spider. And nice. I didn't even, this is a 5-foot length, and I didn't even think, it wasn't even occurring to me that if I cut it at 30, it'd be cutting it perfectly in half. How fortuitous. See, I like get talking to you guys, and I'm not like paying attention to basic measurements. So now we have this, and of course everything is like loosey-goosey because nothing is cemented. But if we like, once we build it, if we like the overall dimension and we think, yeah, this is like the size, I'll go ahead and cement it for the next stream. So it's all ready. I'll start the foam process, and then, you know, it's time to start adding some animatronics. So I'm back here, and all I'm going to do now is just kind of flip this guy over so you guys can see what I'm doing. There we go. So one thing we can do is, you know, just keep it like that. But I thought, you know, maybe widen it just a little bit like this. Not too much, because then it makes it tough to cement. But if we just kind of, you know, give it a little bit wider in the back just to give us a little bit more support. And this allows me then to create a custom, it's like I'm playing a guitar. Yeah, spider guitar. Except left-handed, you know. All the amazing solos. I mean, the solos would be happening unless, you know, you're doing like the ting, 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 finger tapping thing over here. Anyways, getting my air guitar on. So I think if I just, you know, stretch it like that a little bit, that'll allow me to, I can make any shape plywood base, you know, like a 1/4-inch plywood base. So I can kind of cut it a little bit, you know, round like this. Same thing with the thorax. So the frame is just something for it to sit on and to give it some kind of rigidity. So let me do a quick measure here and see what we want to make this portion here. So I, you know, that's not too extreme. Something like that is kind of nice. And so I'm going to measure just from here, and I would say that's 2.5. And then we have to add 1.5 inches. So that would be 4 inches. So let's try cutting a piece, another piece at 4 inches here. Guys, we're like rock through this. Then I want to try a leg with you guys, because I definitely want to get some leg opinions from you on how best to handle the legs, because I have an idea, but I am not sure if it's going to be the best idea. So we'll see. And Jealous, oh no, I got him started. He's all, what did I say? 4 inches? I think that's what I said. Yeah, I'm going for it. I'm going for it. So Gel's already excited. He's like, pie in the face and silly string. It'll be like a crazy party here. People will be like, what is she streaming? What the heck is going on there? Well, a whole lot of fun is what is going on here. All right, so we have four inches. And once I put this together, before I cement it, it'll give me time to kind of remeasure everything and annotate some of the changes that we've made. That way, for Wrench Army members, guys, I'll put up a template with all the measurements. So in case you want to build your very own spider, you can do so. You know, use my dimensions or multiply it however much more giant you want to make yours. And if anyone does any, you know, manages to get a little time to do some Halloween projects, I'd love to see it. Definitely post it. So yeah, I think that kind of is pretty good. Kind of like what I wanted. So isn't it awesome when a plan comes together? So that's kind of our situation, you know. So, so we have our thorax here, and his eyes are going to be here, and they're going to be kind of like mounded like this. I guess I'll hold him like this. Oh, his thorax needs to be cemented. Once the T's are cemented, it'll allow me, they're going to be cemented in place. So I'll always be able to remove our abdomen and store it some other way. So here, I think I'm going to do this section out of foam, because I'm going to go ahead and mount up his eyes, put our creepy eyes, and run wires through it. And then on the underside where it's a little bit more protected, maybe I can do some kind of plastic housing for it, keep the electronics there, probably run it on batteries. It's Halloween, and it doesn't have to run that long. And so the foam will be done that way. Now for the abdomen, I can also use foam, but guys, I mean, I can almost fill a trash bag to the proper shape, you know, using hay or newspaper or anything like that, like cheap throwaway stuff, and make some kind of fur cover, sew it together, maybe with a zipper on top where I unzip it, I remove the fur, and I can throw away the bag. And all I have is just this frame instead of having to store this big old thing. Of course, unless I decide to put it on the wall, then we need the abdomen, you know? So I am super debating. This will be foam. I think it's the best way to do it, unless you guys have other ideas. You know me, I am always ears, because you guys have already, mentioned some pretty good things. So I'm thinking for this, I'm very tempted to do just like a plastic bag with hay, and then we cover the plastic bag with, you know, our fur pouch, you know, and then I undo a zipper, I can remove it. And because it's either hay or newspaper, it's cheap. You know, you can get hay so cheap during Halloween, a whole bushel, barrel, whatever they call it, you know, tied up for like $5 at Walmart. So that's something to think about. That way I only ever have to worry about, you know, making sure the thorax doesn't get, you know, busted. The other thing is weather proofing. I'm not going to super be so concerned with that. I think I'm going to, if it looks like rain, I'll bring it in, you know, because I think we can certainly clear coat this situation, but the fur, once the water gets on the fur, and that's one of the reasons I was thinking of using a plastic trash bag underneath the fur, because the water doesn't start to collect into the foam. Wet foam is really, really heavy, so that entire abdomen made of foam could just sag. Now, a lot of people that I've seen do this project use expanding foam. You just make like a big old expanding foam. You buy a beach ball from Walmart and put it here and expand foam all over it, and then carve it and shape it that way. That gets a bit heavy though, so I think I want to avoid the expanding foam. Plus, it's kind of permanent, you know. So I'm really thinking about the trash bag one, because I think we can, trash it every year. So I will, chime in if you have like ideas of how to handle the abdomen versus the thorax, while we move on to do kind of a sample leg. And this is what I was thinking for the leg. And I'm just going to move this back over like this. Now, looking at, I'm going to do it. I'm going to pull up that spider picture again. I know people, nightmares tonight, nightmares. All right, gross. So it's easiest to see on the tarantula and on the widow spider on the bottom. But the tarantula, one thing I noticed is the 4 main legs, they all come out of the thorax. There is no legs coming out of the abdomen. Same thing with the widow spider, all those legs come out of the thorax. Now the tarantula has a pronounced, I don't know what they're called. It's the little legs, like the little T-Rex arms. I don't know if they're feelers or what they are, and they hide the fangs. Whereas on the widow spider, they're much smaller, and you can really see the fangs or the pieces of skin, I guess, that cover the fangs. This is as far as I go with spider anatomy and spider terminology. So I think I'm going to do similar, where I may not do very pronounced T-Rex arms on it. So that way you can see the eyes and you can see the fangs. And we're going to try and put the nozzle in between the fangs, and have it shoot out our web slinger. Now, in the future, it would be very cool to have like the little fangs and then animate them up like the spider is rearing, and then have it, shoot out that web sling. If we have time to animate something, I would love to just kind of like do 2 servos like that, or one, just with a piece of string or something like that to get it to animate. And I think we can certainly animate wire or have it on a fishing line that just kind of animates up that way. So And Dave Beck is saying trash bag is good. You can change color and size each year. Yes, that's true. Jell is saying there is a mansion near you. Where do you live? They put these 10-foot spiders on the walls. I'll send you a picture when they go up. Oh my gosh, that'd be super exciting to see. I want to see that. And Dave Beck, yes, trash bag. I figured that's what you were saying, unless you were saying no, don't use a trash bag. Trash bad. So in order to make the legs, one of the things that I was thinking about, and I guess we'll use this side, I'm thinking I can put one leg going from this angle here, a leg here, and a leg here, kind of like the spiders. And that leaves this entire portion up here for kind of its hanging fangs, which later we can kind of animate to rear up. But for now, I'm thinking I want to use some kind of PVC combination for each of its joints, so each straight section of the arm will be a piece of PVC, but at the joints, have them joined together with wire. So that way I can kind of animate the spider any way I want. And because we're using wire, the joints can move a little bit. So if we ever have the spider chasing someone, its legs will actually do this. So it'll be super legit looking, like it's coming after you, rather than stiff PVC legs, which I thought about, using 45s and 90s to create. But if you look at a lot of those spider projects, the legs are all in the same orientation. And on the segments that we have the PVC is where we're going to add this pool noodle. And then we're going to shape it, we're going to miter it, so that way it can move. And we can add black fabric to where the wires tie up the joints. So the next thing to figure out, which I don't have a template for, is how long we want these legs and what the segments are going to look like, and test some kind of wire mechanism to hold them together. And we're just going to do one leg. And if it works out, I can repeat for all the other legs. So looking at, what we got here, and this is probably a better view for you guys, how long to, I'm gonna put spiders again, I'm sorry. So using the black widow spider as an example, because those legs look way creepier than the hairy tarantula legs with too many segments. With all those segments, you kind of lose a lot of that dynamic shape that the widow spider has. So I'm kind of, leaning towards that. So if we look, that very first segment that comes off that body is the longest. And that looks like the 1, 2, third leg. That third leg is got the longest segments. First segment, and then every other leg after that has kind of like a smaller segment. So whatever that segment is, maybe the other legs will be 3/4 that size. The one right next to it, the one in the front, will be like half that size. Maybe we'll just kind of use that type of measurement. So let's figure out kind of a cool, first segment there for that longest leg. So that would be the third leg, working your way from front to back. That third leg is the most pronounced leg. So actually, it is not. It is the fourth leg. I am looking now at the spider on the bottom right. I was looking at the one on the top right, and I can't tell which leg is in front of the other, I guess, in that picture. But looking now at the one at the bottom right gives us a much better idea. And the leg in the front and the leg in the very back are the longest legs, and they're the ones that have the longest first segment. So, all right, now I got it right. So let's try and figure that out. So for the front leg and the back leg. So let's work the back leg, because that seemed like the biggest one. So maybe the first segment, I'm trying to do it like this. And Carl James Fender Spider Caster. Yes, I was definitely playing that air spider guitar. And Dave Beck is saying he likes the wire joint idea. And Carl James saying, will this beast have animated antenna and a scary mouth with sharp teeth? So far we're going to have fangs. We may not get around to making teeth, but spiders don't have teeth, but our spider can have teeth. I don't think they have teeth. I don't know. Maybe they do. And Jill is saying, take some thoughts on the weight. The heavier it gets, the harder it will be to control, especially the legs. That is true. So if we were to do some kind of actuator, to be able to kind of like lift this thing and spit out or travel along with this thing, which obviously not only do we need 2 wheels up front, we're going to need some kind of 2-wheel situation back here as well, because this starts to get heavy, which where I'm thinking with a trash bag filled with hay or paper, that's going to help conserve on the weight. Although fur can be kind of heavy. Those pelts of fur that you buy at the craft store can add some weight. So yes, we need to start thinking about that, because we ran into that with my condiment cart idea. That kind of, you know, I had to rethink that one and add beefier motors, or remove 2 motors and add a beefier motor driver. So I'm just kind of extending it to the 2-foot mark. Random. Let's see if that works. So yeah, we do have to think about the weight, because even when we eat pool noodles, they're not heavy on their own, but once you start adding it up, I can already feel the weight of this entire frame. It's not horrible, but it's enough. All right, so this is, let's see what a 2-foot looks like. So 2 feet is here. And that's pretty long. I kind of like it though. What do you guys think? Right here for the first segment of that back leg. And the same will repeat on here. We can always cut it shorter if we don't like it, you know. So, or should we go longer? I think longer starts to get a bit much. And, oh, Carrot is here. It's like, what's poppin'? What are we working on? We are working on a giant Halloween spider. And here's the body. And now we're trying to figure out the segments of the legs and how we're going to get this going. So the idea is that between the bottom of this leg and the frame are going to be wired together, so I can do, you know, move it around and stuff. And the legs are going to mostly be falling on the floor, and so it'll have the support of the floor. This, we just need to find a way to support. And I think if I put 2 T's facing down with stakes, that'll kind of hold the body up, you know, like this. And I might add some kind of T or 2 T's here to have a stake for the abdomen as well. You know, that better safe than sorry on that one, right? So I got to go out and buy a couple T's. So I'm kind of leaning towards the 2-foot type of first segment for this leg. Thoughts? 2-foot total would be good with the joints and all. Oh, wow. That's a short leg. But, you know, the weight would be good. The weight would be good. You know, I'm making mine heavy. And Kareth is saying, is this spider going to be robotic? There is going to be some robotic portions in that it's going to shoot silly string at people with a motion detector. So anyone that kind of comes around the house or the door, it's going to shoot silly string. And it's going to have red flickering LED eyes. So that's the status of the animation that we're doing for this year. We can always bring it back next year and, continue the animation on it. So Jel has already talked about doing an RC car type of thing, where the spider can like chase you, which I thought would be hilarious. And then Merlin Maggie had the idea of doing like a seesaw, so the spider can kind of do that, which is a simple practical effect, which is something, you know, we might be able to get in for this year and then trade up and do the RC car next year. Although I'm really tempted to try and speed this up and get to the RC car and try and add that for this year, because I think that'd be hilarious. And Larry's saying the 2-foot segment looks good. So I'm trying to like adhere Gel's advice, because I know he's right. I'm gonna make it too heavy and then run into the same problem as the cart, but we'll just have to find beefier motors and beefier stuff, and then we'll just trim the legs back. So we can start with 2 feet for the first segment, and then we can just trim it back if it doesn't, work out very well, and make each segment smaller. And I'm going to put all the legs on before we decide that we like the leg, and then cut up the foam pieces, you know. So the idea is we're going to put a wire joint right here, which we'll try right now to see how flexible and if that idea even works. Then we'll cut out the other pieces. Then the idea, if we like it, I'll take it apart, and this fits real snug. And so the idea is, I won't slip it all the way because I won't be able to get it out. We'll have, I just smacked you guys. So the idea is that we can shape this, you know, so it doesn't start with this harsh type of thing, you know, we can taper it so it's like a real leg, and we're going to leave the joints exposed for now. But I think what I'm going to do is use black fabric. I have some left over from our fart detector project, and cover with some black fabric our wire. And then, you know, so that way you have those natural segments going on if we taper these all nice. This, as you can see, is way snug on this. So I'm not going to have to use any adhesive or anything like that, which is great. So we'll cut each segment and then cut the pool noodle to fit each segment and leave the wires bare for now. And then I'll cover them at a later date with, you know, when we do the fur portion of the build, we'll cover those wires. So this is our 2-foot segment. And so the idea that I have is to drill a hole that goes across. So it's a hole here and a hole here. That'll allow me to put a wire through. And then double twist the wire and do the same thing here. Drill a hole like this. So that way now we can articulate the leg. That's the idea. So the thought now is like, what wire do we use? And I have a couple options here. A lot of this is armature wire that we use for sculpture making, which we're doing right now with the Wrench Army. We're in the middle of a plasma ball build where we converted an ordinary light bulb into a plasma ball by pumping high voltage through it. And we're converting it into a lamp now. So you can enjoy this and creating a dragon versus wizard battle. So we did make our own dragon sculpture out of clay, and so we made its skeleton out of this. Now this, it's pretty flimsy by itself, but when you double it up and you twist it like that, I'll give you guys a better view. So this is option 1, you know, and so each of the joints can have multiple of these. Once you twist it, it starts to become real strong. See, now that's a little stronger now. And if we wrap around another layer, then even better. You know, it's just going to make it stronger. And Jill said something funny. She is going to strap it to the hood of her car and chase kids down the street. Darn straight I am. You guessed it. I am so going to do that. So we have this kind of aluminum armature wire, 18 gauge or 12 gauge. And so this is a good candidate. I have something that's a little bit stiffer, but I'm afraid it might be too stiff. But it may not be. I'm going to grab your guys' opinion on it. And so I went to the hardware store trying to figure out what to use for this. And one idea I had is rather than use segments of PVC, use threaded aluminum rods. So I found a 1/4 inch aluminum rod, but they are so hard to bend. And if I ever want to like animate the legs or something, I'll never be able to do it. And I probably won't ever be able to do it with this stuff either. But this is 8 gauge copper, solid copper wire. Now for me, it's kind of a shame to use something this pretty that I love to use for steampunk projects on something like this where it's going to get covered up. But it was the one thing that I saw that is kind of tough. I mean, this is tough to bend. And let's take it out of the packaging and see if it's something that we can use. And I know I have scissors here somewhere. Here we go. I think the armature wire is probably better because you can bend it, but this probably could handle the weight better. So I am like super on the fence with this. Let's see how hard this is to bend. I mean, we would probably just be able to use this as is and not have to wind on here, but it's going to be at some point, if we ever want to animate the legs, it'll probably be kind of impossible. So the legs probably don't need to be animated because if we do the RC cart, this alone will give us enough jigglage that the legs are going to be like, ah, I'm coming for you, you know? and scary. If we ever wanted to animate the fangs, I'd probably use this for the fangs, because the fangs are just going to be hanging like that. And then we can put a little servo that just goes like, you know, like that, and animates the fang up and down like that. So maybe we'll do that and save this copper pipe for the joints, because it is just so ridiculously strong. So Larry is saying wire hangers. I love wire hangers. I have no wire hangers here. It's been a long time since I've been to the cleaner, so I used to have a collection. And Jill is saying, I'm afraid the wire will break after several bends. Yes. So that's one thing I was kind of worried about, where I'm kind of leaning towards this thicker one that may hold up a little bit better, you know, versus something like this. I think once this bends quite a few times, it'll probably break, even if we do, you know, wrap it around. So perhaps something like this. And I think wire hangers or this are going to suffer kind of the same fate. If they keep bending at the same point over and over again, they'll eventually break. But this will be able to take far more bends than something like our amateur wire. So I do wish I had coat hangers, because it is so much cheaper than something like this. But what we could do is do one leg with this and see if I can get my hands on some coat hangers, and then I'll do the rest with the coat hangers, because coat hangers are the bomb. I could probably just buy some on Amazon, you know. So I just needed something kind of like short-handed, you know, or quick. And Amazon wasn't going to get here. So the other thing I have too is this armature wire, but again, this is aluminum, and even double bending it like this, it gives us, actually that's pretty good and much easier to bend, and you can kind of shape it. I don't know, I'm kind of liking this one. I think I'm going to go for this one, because that's pretty good. And Larry's saying heavy cable ties. That's another idea. I was looking at coax cables as well. It's just such a waste of cable, I know. But, you know, I was getting desperate for anything. You know what? I'm kind of liking that armature wire. Let me do one leg in that armature wire. And I can always take it off if I don't like it and replace it with this stuff. The only thing with cable ties is that you're going to get a droop, and the legs are probably going to drag on the floor if we send it, you know, driving away with an RC car. So we need a way to kind of up the legs like this. And it could be that I use a very heavy gauge wire in the beginning, you know, like right at the first joint, and then move on to something like this for the other joints. But let's just see if my theory works, what the weight looks like, and see if for the other legs, I got to up the ante versus this one. And Dave is saying, how about a plastic ball joint? Ooh, a plastic ball joint. I can definitely look into that. Carl James is saying copper will be more flexible than aluminum before it breaks. Very true. Dave Beck is saying, I like the thick copper wire. We'll make more copper wire for those steampunk projects. Yes, that's we can always make more. So I'm going to make one, since you guys are kind of leaning towards this copper wire, I'm going to make one leg with this copper wire, and then I'm going to get online and see if I can find that plastic ball joint that Jell is talking about, because that might be a good thing. And then Larry Galan is saying Heim joints. So I'll have to look at that as well. Guys, these are all like really, really good idea. Heim joints. It's a good idea. So yeah, I'm gonna like contemplate all these, but just to satisfy my curiosity, I'll try one leg with this. And so let me see, do I have juice up in here? Let's figure out a hole size for this thing. Does it say a diameter of any sort? No. We'll just guess. I'm going to try and make the hole somewhat, tight. And it's only slightly bigger than the copper, so that's good. See what this leg will look like. So let's see. I'm going to do this joint because it's a little bit easier for me to reach. So I'll just put that right there. And so I think the idea is I'm going to go in like this. And I might just remove this joint just to be able to do it. And then on this leg, actually, I might as well just do the leg first. And go like that. And go all the way through. And let's see if our copper pipe fits in, or if I goofed. No, all right, so it fits in. Awesome. And I'm gonna do the same, and I left, what is that, about half-ish inch. I didn't wanna go too close to the edge because then it can get weak. So that's a little over half an inch. You know, I'm gonna repeat that on these guys right here. And so I'm gonna do this segment here. So let's get him out, and right smack in the middle, I'm going to do the same thing. Put his leg. And then you can see how I repeat that, you know, on each segment. But for us, it's just kind of out of curiosity. Try this thing. Also knowing that these can rotate because they're not cemented in. So the idea here is... Ooh, slam. Let's see. And Carl James is liking the ball joint actions. $3,000. Probably. I think you're being conservative. Carl James, $3,000. 8 legs with hem joints. $3,000. Yeah, I think you're being a bit kind there. So let me stick this guy through here first. Yeah, I don't know how much like joint room to leave, you know. I think that's too long. I think we want it to be kind of tight. I can always cut the excess off. And let me grab some pliers to deal with this. Maybe something like this. That you can make it big. I will crush you. Crush you. There we go. And it's already flipping. All right. And then this will go through here. I wonder if I should double wrap it. Unless there's a way to make it come out through this way. But I think I can do this and this. Some wire shaping here. About here, and I know this is like totally not making sense. For now, it's not all that much making sense to me either, but I think I know what I'm going for. I think, famous last words, I think I want to do a 90-degree bend like that, and stick him in here. The hole. Okay, I'm gonna have to lean up on you guys, because now he doesn't want to come out the other end. Where is he? Oh, there we go. There. So we got a leg. It's in. It's in. Now I gotta figure out how I'm going to get this. This settled. This is almost like a two-person thing. It's like you hold the leg, you squeeze the wire. There we go. There. So this somewhat allows us to move the leg. Now we just need to figure out how to tie it. Tie this big honker of a thing. So maybe I should do like a loop or something. Let me see if I can give you guys a better view. I don't know that that's even better. But the idea is that I have it looped through. And so now I can probably, oh, I know what I can do. I can scrunch this down. There. One leg, one segment is like fighting us. Gel is like blowing up my budget right now. Put hydraulics on each leg, can you imagine? I mean, that would be awesome. So, but a bit difficult budgetary wise. I'm using my head to hold these legs together. There. So let me bring you guys in a little bit closer so you see the disaster that I got going on here and move some of this stuff out of the way so I can shove this your way. I think a coat hanger is a better bet, but since I've started this disaster, this is a bit, short. So I was thinking of like bending it down, like, to touch down here. And then maybe wrapping this copper pipe around, but that's going to make it really tough for our pipe to fit on top of it. So one of the things we can do is instead, I got a better idea. Let me undo this. I just thought of it. Much better. The body was going to be the toughest part, and the legs were like, we're just tying up with some twine, which is a possibility too. So I'm wondering if we can do this. Do one. Like that. And I might have to open this hole bigger and do this where you guys can see it, of course. So what I'm trying to do is stick this through the hole and weave it down from the inside, and then repeat on the other side with another piece, and then wrap it around this, and then we can epoxy it, just so it stays. There it comes. So yes, if I make this hole a little bit bigger, that's going to make our life a ton easier. I think that's where I'm struggling. I don't know, gel's ball joints are sounding really, really good about now. We have to make the hole a little bit bigger than that. All right. So let's see if that idea will work. Like hook it like a fish. And it doesn't help that my thing is all bent up, so maybe a fresh one that's straight might make my life a little bit easier. And probably a bigger hole. Yes. Slightly more bigness on the hole. Curve the wire to get it through. Let's try that. I'm going to try it on my busted end. Let's try Gel's idea. That's a good idea. But not better than the hydraulics. That's even better. And my whole arm is up in your way, so I put a little bit of a curve. Let's see if that helps us. Probably. There we go. Chill. Okay, it needs a little more of a curve. Yes. So we've hooked it. So the idea is, let's see if I can now pinch this together nice and tight and repeat on the other side, and then figure out how we're gonna attach it to our frame here. And I'm going all over the place on this camera here. Try and catch me. All right. You have failed me for the last time. I'm gonna go all Vader. I don't know if you guys seen, it's either like TNT or TBS or something like that, has been playing all of the Star Wars. Oh my gosh, I've been totally addicted. The old ones, the new ones, it's awesome. All right, so we have a hook this way, and I think now I'm gonna try and unbend it. So, yes, wire hangers I think would have been slightly easier to work with. And I knew I was getting, once I bought this and I started messing around by trying to bend it through the packaging, I was like, this is going to be rough. A little rougher than I anticipated, but rough. All right. So the idea is maybe, and here's the hole. I'm wondering if I could create like a large hole and be able to thread both of them. Unless I go with my original idea, which was almost working, but I might have given up on it a little bit too early. But I almost feel like wrapping this smaller piece on this bigger piece right here. And then having this bigger piece go inside here. Just so it's not so loosey-goosey right here. And so, oh gosh, guys, it's not easy. Yeah, much better there. So let me try and see if I can use a needle nose to go up into the tube and crimp it. Crimp it better. There. And then somehow we're gonna use two pliers, and I'm gonna back you guys on up a bit. There we go. And see if we can gently, not at all, twist this thing around. Maybe with vise or something, I might be able to do it. Bust out the vise. Might be easier, just one-handed. There we go. Getting it nice and tight. And just wrap it around maybe once more and cut it. I have not seen this done this way. I'm beginning to learn why. And so, what Dave is saying. Don't pinch your hands doing that. Yeah, that's what Jell is saying. And he's saying there's got to be an easier way. I think so too. I'm almost wanting to go for the armature wire because it's so much easier to work with. And we can triple wind it and it'll be pretty darn strong. And then also, Dave is saying... Oh, Merlin has an idea too. Yeah, I thought about that. Merlin is saying you might be better off putting the leg in with a T-fitting and make a joint that can spring at the knee joint. Yes, and like so these will be kind of hardwired, I guess you can say, and then just make the rest of the joints more springy. So that's definitely an idea. I'm out of T-joints, but I need to go get more T-joints anyway to be able to put them here. So this portion here is kind of a fail. I'm going to try and unwind it and get this out of here and see if we can try the armature wire before we give up on that. This one I think is just going to be way too hard for me to bend around. And then Becca's saying maybe use the other wire to tie the thick copper in place. Yeah, so we can use kind of the more bendy wire to kind of help anchor this guy. And then Carl James is saying lineman's pliers would make that easier for you. Yes, probably. And Joe, yes, a spring in the joints like Merlin said. Yeah, so we'll try the armature wire just for us to mock up the lengths. And then what I'm going to do is probably do Merlin's idea, where at this joint only, where it connects to the thorax, just use a T. Knock it off with this craziness that I'm trying to do right here. Killing myself trying to get this thing on. So that's probably the direction I'm going to go. But in the meantime, we can go ahead and mock the rest of this up using the other armature wire. And then use the other armature wire for the rest of the joints, because that's, you know, they're going to have to deal with less weight. And as you go down the leg, it's less and less weight. This joint here, I see where Merlin's going. You're probably right. This joint right here is going to deal with all the weight of the entire leg. So probably best to do some kind of T. So we'll pretend there's a T here, and we'll continue making the rest of the leg, and then I'll T it in once I pick up some more T's. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to leave this undrilled. This is where it's going to go into the T, and we might as well use this drill part and make the other segment of the leg. So the leg has 4 segments. 4 segments. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3. It's kind of like the knee is like a mini segment, you know? So we'll make like a, I almost just feel like making 3 segments. And Joe, my TV went to sleep. Yeah, I'm about to go to sleep. This is like totally kicking my butt here, which is good. You know, we're figuring it out. That's what prototyping is all about. So let's see here. 1, 2, 3. I think I'm going to go with 3 segments per leg, and maybe add a 4th like little tippy toe type of thing. So now we're going to do this segment, which is not as long. So let me grab this piece right here. And I would say this segment is about, and I know I'm kind of like talking to myself here. So as long as all the segments are the same, you know, on the other side, we match this one to this one on the other side, we'll be fine. So I think with this one, maybe we'll go half the segment. And I'm just going to take another look here. Yes, half the segment, because it seems like the long little hooky part is what's the longest. And Jill is going to join us next week. Awesome. I believe we're going to be doing foam and fur next week. So lots of fun. So yes, there's like a little knee, but I'm going to use the wire as that joint. So yeah, we'll do 3 segments. Here we go. And so for this one, this is the main 2-foot segment coming out. And then I think for this, if that's 2 feet, let's maybe make this at 1 foot. So let's see what that looks like. Prototyping out this leg. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. And then the other one can be longer. Yeah, I'm liking that 1 foot only. You know, just about where this is about a foot. I'm trying to keep the measurements kind of like easy and easily repeatable. So at 1 foot, let's cut this guy and see how he works out, and try our wire idea and see how that works. All right, let's cut him off. And I think I'm going to stick with this armature wire right here. Much, much easier to work with. I was toiling there for a bit. I was toiling. And cut this at about the foot mark. Then go back and measure up all these measurements again. Write them down. And these non-Schedule 40 PVC pipes are great because their walls are thinner. You know, so much faster to cut, much easier. Of course, they have a little more bend, you know, than your Schedule 40. But for this project, I think that'll help us out a bit. So that's our 12-inch. And I'm going to also do our hole here in a similar fashion. And I'm going to do the other side already. All right, so let's try and wire up our leg segments. Which I'm getting confused. Which are the leg segments? So these two guys, we're going to try and wire them up and see how this joint is going to work, because then we can just repeat for the rest of the segments. So this is kind of like the big thing I wanted to figure out with you guys while I have you guys, because you've already given some really great ideas on not working too hard to get these things going. So let me unwind this guy. And I think if we wind him in a similar manner, we'll get something that can bend a few times, you know, before it breaks. Quite a few times before it has issues. All right. So the big thing is just figuring out how much wire we want, like how much space between joints do we want, and then how to bend it upon itself. So I'm going to stick this guy here and see where he comes out the other side. There we go. All right, so already much easier to work with. And I'm going to use a lot of wire. Because the idea is that let's see if I can make a hook. Like that. So it can hook in and pull it out. Then, whoa, this is looking good, people. I think I know what I'm doing. It's very rare, a very rare feat indeed. But, so, if we get some kind of joint like this, and now I'm going to take this and do what I was trying to do with the copper pipe, which is wrap it around. All right, so that kind of starts giving me an idea. And so I already see that I have to cut this a lot longer, but this will kind of give us an initial idea. Because what I would like to do is have enough to wrap it all the way up to the top where it feeds back in here. So let's try and practice, do a practice run with this one and cut it like super long, like that. And then I'm gonna angle it, create a little foot on it like that. just so I can feed it through the hole. If I can find it. Where is it? It's like, no, abort mission. I want nothing to do with this project. I'm over it. Abort mission. All right, I'm gonna have to like stick my face in here, so sorry guys. Sticking my face in here. There we go. So let's thread this through. And a couple things. See if I can get my hand on some ball joints. Coat hangers, although this may work with this armature wire here. And so all I got to do is just do better at measuring out, trying to get the coil all the way up here. And let me back you guys out just a tiny bit and pinch these two together. Like that. Well, I'm glad I didn't go for the 3/4 inch or the 1/4 inch threaded aluminum rods. That, well, obviously we wouldn't be using this method, but they'd be a bit tough. They'd be very, very heavy. And armature wire is not very expensive, so I can probably go out and buy a bunch of this and have plenty. So this joint is a little bit longer than what I would like, but it was a good experiment to see if this works or if the ball joints are better. Now remember, we're gonna have the ground to kind of support this, so it's not gonna be so flabby. It's gonna connect to something else, which is gonna, you know, connect back to the ground. But it already allows us to kind of bend, you know, in a position that we like, you know, or bend like that. So might not be bad. Might not be bad. Oh, Larry Gallant, schedule 20. Yeah. Instead of schedule 40. So this wiring might be good. So the only thing is where it goes through the hole, it is not gonna really hold. So one of the things we'll have to do is either make a tighter tie around the hole or try the ball joint idea. But I mean, it's almost there because, well, once the coating goes on our pool noodle, it's going to basically pinch the wires into place. So it might give us a little bit better, but you can see like we can easily bend the joints any way we want, and it's going to give us a little bit of wigglage when the thing starts taking off. So what we decided is T-joint right here, you know, a T connector. That's going to anchor this into place, and we can make each leg kind of anchored a different way, but most likely we're going to have to cement that on. So the only thing for storage now is that we will have like this anchored like that. So storage becomes kind of, you know, not an issue, but it starts to become a little bit more challenging. But the rest of the legs, we can probably bend them kind of inward and just kind of fold the whole thing like that, and he'll just kind of be this kind of thing that we put on the shelf. So the storage is not ideal, but it's also not the worst thing in the world. We can definitely handle the storage on this one. And so I think we need 2 more segments to complete this, but I'm going to see, before I continue to make all these wire joints. I'm going to see if I can look into some ball joints and see if that'll make our life easier, and leave it uncemented. So that way we can just do what we need to do without worrying, about it being solidified in place. And the ball joint, because these are not your stiff Schedule 40, they can probably, we still have the wigglage that we were looking for. So all good prototyping, I think that this portion is pretty much we can call a day on. I think this is pretty good to go. And so I'm going to add 2 T's here in order to be able to stake it. And I'm going to add another 2 T's, and then I'm going to purchase T's for all of the rest of the legs. And that should solve that leg, and it'll be like nice and sturdy. And then we can have springs or whatever, because that's another idea too, is looking into springs, some very stiff springs to put instead of this like wire business. So that's another idea that we can try. So I'm gonna, press forward with this for next week, because we are going to start our foam sculpting, and I think we have a plan for our prototype. Thanks to you guys, we kind of got our heads together, and we're kind of see where this is going. The biggest, toughest part I think is done, which is the body and the body dimension, which I think I'm liking this body dimension. So guys, thank you so much for joining, Wrench Army members. We are going to pick up with our plasma ball project. Those of you that have not joined the Wrench Army, think about doing it. We are doing some pretty fun things. Every Monday is our free stream, and then Thursdays is our Wrench Army streams. We're also going to start introducing our build journals. A lot of you guys like to see the behind the scenes of the work that goes into, getting to the live stream, all the prep, all the, template drawing, all that kind of things, and figuring things out. So those happen either on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. It depends on, the week. And those are for Wrench Army members too. Wrench Army members, I will also have dimensions for you in case you want to build your spider. But to all of you guys, make sure you hop on Discord where you can post pictures. You can chime in your ideas. You can also do that on social media as well. Discord is free, and it allows us to all jump in and chat in real time. I am on there most nights anyways, seeing what you guys are posting. So thanks a lot for joining tonight. And guys, next week is October. So have a spooktacular rest of the week.